Take a moment to peek into the lives of inspirational people living the true definition of happiness with author, presenter, personal stylist and coach Moana Robinson, who chats to people who have overcome challenges to live their best life. Moana is a passion and purpose coach and a personal stylist who empowers others to discover their best life and style, regardless of age. Here is Moana.
It's Moana Robinson here from Be Styled for Life, and I would love to welcome you to Lisa Cox, who has agreed to take a moment with me. Thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me about the challenges that you have faced and what you are achieving now. You achieved a lot before the challenges that happened to you, and you are achieving amazing things now. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thanks, Mo. It's really good to be here. Thanks very much for having me on.
Would you just tell our listeners in your own words, I'll put a bit about it in the copy as well for this podcast, but just a description of what happened to you so they've got some background about what you faced quite a few years ago.
Yeah, sure. So it was a medical situation that happened to me. So when I was 24, I was following a fairly ordinary, quote unquote ordinary, school, university, climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak, and modest middle class lifestyle here in Australia. And then I was at Melbourne Airport one morning, flying home to see my family. I was working in an advertising agency down in Melbourne as a copywriter. And I don't remember what happened because I've got about 6 months worth of amnesia, but I'm told from attending medical staff and everybody who was there at the time that I had a brain hemorrhage, a type of stroke. Went into hospital, went into a coma, was put in a coma for 3 weeks and was on life support for the next 2 months, and then spent over a year in hospital after that. So that was fun times. So during that first year, my left leg, all of my right toes and 9 of my fingertips were amputated. I had heart surgery and a total hip replacement. So a stroke and a hip replacement at the age of 24 and a hip replacement at 27 is kind of all the sort of stuff that happens to much, much older people. Yeah. I've spent a lot of time hanging out with people who are really old enough to be my grandparents, I suppose, and absolutely hated it. But at the same time, I knew that my family drew up their bits of information, so they didn't tell me straight away exactly what had happened. But I knew enough to know that I was incredibly fortunate to be here at all, to be alive, and that all of my organs had shut down. I was being kept alive for 2 months by machines, and every cell had died. And on one hand, I was incredibly grateful to be alive, but on the other hand, I was deeply depressed because I was going to be disabled for the rest of my life. I was going to be, disfigured. My leg was going to be chopped off, my fingers, my toes, all these sorts of things. And all I knew, what I knew about disability was 24 years worth of stereotypes in my head. Well, I knew a little bit from friends and family in the sector, but I also had 24 years worth of stereotypes in my head that had been put there largely by mass media, and they weren't good. They weren't great. They told me that people with disabilities didn't have jobs, didn't have families, didn't have friends, were pretty worthless, and weren't really active, fun members of society who enjoy their lives. So my outlook on my life at that point was pretty shit, to be honest. and I had this, years of industry experience in the media and 2 degrees, and I knew that once I got out of hospital, I went back plenty of times, but I spent several years after that working out that I could combine all of my years of industry knowledge and tertiary qualifications, all of those things, combined with my lived experience, as well as voices of other people with disabilities, to somehow better educate the industry and work with the industry to change the way people with disabilities are being represented. Because speaking with the industry or hearing from the industry, the sorts of excuses that we'd hear from them and the sorts of reasons that they'd sometimes give about why they can't do things were bullshit. And I knew that because I worked in it, and I knew how and why things could be done differently. And having that first-hand knowledge and inside information really, really helped. So when I started my business and started approaching businesses and brands and organisations about inclusion and diversity maybe 10 years ago, the response I got was, "Oh, don't be stupid. There's no need for inclusion and diversity. Why would we want that, silly girl?" But fortunately, these days there's a bit more of an understanding that it is important. So, and there are some really, really big brands and really great leaders who are coming on board and seeing the importance of it, not just as a good thing to do for society, but as the economic and financial benefits to business as well. So I've told you a lot there.
No, that's
thrown a lot at you.
Yeah, I have researched you, and I've filled in the gaps as well. Like you've kind of breezed over that time in hospital because you've really come out the other side, and you've made the most of those challenges that you faced, and you've kind of turned it into something very useful for society and for yourself. You've created a business. And I did read, I think it was that the advertising and marketing sector were missing out on, was it 20% of? Roughly
20% is the approximate number of people with disability, 1 in 5 Australians. So if we look at that in terms of market share, businesses are crying out for more consumers, people to buy. And generally speaking, people with disabilities are sitting around and, well, market to me, sell to me. I'm sitting here with my credit card ready to buy, but no one wants to advertise to me.
Yeah.
And there are so many ways to make business more accessible to people with disabilities, more inclusive, more enticing. But so often businesses don't know about those ways, and I work with some wonderful individuals and organisations who are showing businesses those ways. So that's more of what I'm doing these days. But there's also the year in hospital and the many years before that as well.
Yeah, really in hospital, the medical team would have been just getting all the blood and all the goodness to go to your vital organs, and I read that's why you had to suffer the loss of your leg, and
that's right. Yeah. So a stroke doesn't normally cause amputations, generally speaking. I've had a surprising number of people come up to me and go, "Oh, you've had a stroke." Yeah, my 80-year-old grandfather had one. I know just what that's like. And I go, "Oh, kind of different, but yeah, okay." But the reason I had all of the amputations is because after my brain injury, all of my organs shut down, and I had to be put on medication that brought all the blood back to my vital organs. This is the layman's version, not the not doctor's version. And all of the blood went away from my extremities, so my fingers and toes, arms and legs all turned a bit black for a while. And for a while, the doctors talked about, chopping off both arms, both legs, and or a lot more basically than just fingers and the leg and toes, and even my nose turned black for a little while, but got to keep that one. So yes, that's why that happened.
Gosh, I had my own story. I'll send you a copy of my book, Teddy's Revenge, but I had something, just a scare. Like, I had 4 surgeries in 1 week and was in intensive care for a week, had carotid artery surgery, and narrowly missed having a stroke. But I was very, very lucky. I think someone up there was looking after me, but I was just really moved when I heard your story, and I'm really amazed with how you've turned your life around. And you are, sales trainers always talk about that you're not selling your products or services, you're actually sharing. And I just feel that if marketers and advertising companies don't sell to disabled people, then they are not sharing. It's they're denying people that knowledge about the products and services that are out there.
Yeah, well, I suppose I got a business background and have spent enough time in boardrooms to know that so many people who make decisions about what the content of advertising are concerned about what's at the bottom of a profit and loss statement, where's the return on investment. And let's speak to those people, let's bring them into the conversation and show them that making marketing and advertising inclusive is profitable.
Yes.
It's as simple as that. It's not just about it's a nice thing to do for society, and it's good for the people with disabilities. It's not just about this charity model.
Yep.
That drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it another way. So
The financial aspect of it on the other side. Yeah. So withholding advertising to that 20%, they're missing out on that 20% market share. So you have really created a business. So are you able to sort of say how you go about educating these companies?
Sure. One of the ways I do presentations to them with data. Yeah. So because they can argue with me all they want, people can argue with me and trolls and everything, but they can't argue with the data, ABS data. Yeah. So I'll say to them, right, you have in your minds what the stereotypical disabled consumer looks like, and it's hypothetically someone sitting at home in their pajamas getting the disability pension. Let's just say that hypothetically.
Yep.
But in reality, the data shows us that X% of people with disabilities own their own homes, have a tertiary education, and have an income of this.
Yep. That's
what the data tells us.
Mm-hmm.
Australian Bureau of Statistics can't argue with that. And they're like, oh, okay. So that's just one example. And we go through other examples of brands who are doing it well, so they can see that it is being done well, and case studies from around the world, and those sorts of examples.
And what sort of products or services are you helping? Is it like clothing manufacturers, makeup, skincare, furniture?
I've been to a few CMO, chief marketing officer, and that will just be a really eclectic mix of sort of a bit of everything from FMCG, which is fast moving consumer, like a shopping, a cultural Woolworths, to clothes, eyewear, there is really no, if you can think of a product or a service that an able-bodied person uses or a non-disabled person uses, then that is something that's also applicable to a non-disabled person. I don't have a niche, I suppose. Some people may niche down to I'm focused on automotive, or I'm focused on this, or I'm focused on that. Yeah. I have done with certain brands. I have done work, for example, in fashion, and there are some really great brands out there who do work within the fashion industry, like Christina Stevens. They're really leading the field. So I did work with Australian Fashion Week, for example, and help them navigate their way through the nuances of disability and inclusion. So that was one example, but different brands, and it really depends on having a willingness. If there's a chief marketing officer out there who is willing and able to be inclusive and diverse, it doesn't necessarily matter whether they're selling cars or selling eyewear.
They just get it.
People with disabilities use all of those things.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I was just going to ask you also just something about you personally. Would you be willing to share your life? I noticed that you've got, I think I saw somewhere a photo of a little dog. I've got 2 little dogs too, so
he's sitting beside me right now. He's in my wheelchair. I transfer out of my wheelchair and get onto a normal chair. I will share anything personal about me.
Yeah. Your home life. Do you live in a house? Do you have a garden?
I live in an apartment with my husband and a little dog, little Louis. He's nearly 3 years old, and he's curled up beside me on the wheelchair. I locked him in the office with me because I was afraid that he'd run out onto the balcony and start yapping, start barking during our recording. So I love that happened with me.
My dogs go to doggy daycare on a Tuesday, so it's nice and quiet here today, apart from the banging outside, people cleaning the windows. But I live in an apartment as well, so And what are your hobbies? What do you love to do?
I am obsessed with audiobooks. So I used to be a massive reader before I lost my eyesight, part of my eyesight. So now I can only listen to audio. I can still read, but not entire books. It's a bit beyond me. So I'm obsessed with audiobooks, and I love the gym. So I cannot meditate or do anything like that, but I go to the gym. It's my form of meditation. It's like moving meditation. I can do that sort of stuff. So and then that is my outlet for stress relief.
What sort of books do you like? What sort of books are your favourite type of book to listen to?
I love personal development and those sorts of things. I just listened to Becoming by Michelle Obama. Awesome. Really, really good. So I find the right sort of memoirs really interesting as well. Stuff, even pre-disability, I was really into all that stuff, which probably helped me a lot as well. Good base. I heard one of your podcasts. I think it was one of the first ones that you had.
Is it Heidi Jennings?
I think that was it. She was saying that she had a really good personal. She listened, or she had a lot of personal development grounding, and that really helped her through
Yes.
through everything. And I remember listening to that thinking that's probably one of the things that helped me through my, I mean, there's a lot of BS in the personal development space as well.
Yes, and you can sort of pick it once you've seen a few books like that. You can kind of pick it and you think, oh, I've seen this before. Sometimes because I think different books resonate with different people too.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of it as well, I've got a new lens now for disability. I know what once I used to absorb it all. I now sort of go, oh no, that's not.
Yep.
The whole, you know, mindset is everything, and the power of the mind and everything. I'm like, no, if your brain works differently, like mine does now, it's not all about your mind can do everything and just believe it and you will achieve. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
That's right. We're complex. I mean, I think even without disability, we're so complex. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as simple as sticking an affirmation on the fridge and going, now I will be a millionaire, my life will be perfect. So, as much as I love all that stuff, I'm a little bit cautious to it as well.
It's not pragmatic. I think it's like people that read The Secret and expect $1,000 check in the mail the next day. Yeah. Heidi Jennings is wonderful. She's a fellow book author, and I'll be talking at her retreat. She's got an online retreat coming up.
Oh, great!
Yeah. Beautiful lady, and that's the power of being online. We didn't actually meet in person till I went to New Zealand to visit with my mum, and she lives in Tauranga, so we met in person for the first time. So I hope to meet you in person sometime too.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my husband's a wonderful Kiwi as well. They're good people.
What part of New Zealand is he from?
New Plymouth.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. Has he still got the Kiwi accent or not?
Mother does. My beautiful mother-in-law, hi Joan. She's got a strong Kiwi accent. She'll never be rid of it. He doesn't know. He moved here when he was 10. Oh,
well, I'm sure that you make a wonderful couple. And what breed is your dog?
He's a Moodle.
Oh, Moodle. Yeah, ours are Cavoodles. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they keep you nice and warm during the winter, don't they? Nice to cuddle up to during the winter time. Have you got any advice that you would give to someone who's going through a challenge or challenges in life? I think you would be someone who maybe has some pearl of wisdom that you could share for them. I do know a couple of people going through challenges, so I'd love for you to share anything you can.
After lots and lots of trial and error, and having failed and learnt from my failures, I suppose I had, growing up, I was fortunate to have a very stoic father who I love very, very much, and he instilled some really, really great qualities in me, which is fantastic. But he also instilled in me that you can do everything by yourself, and that has been so great in certain things, like certain business pursuits and things like that. But other times it's been absolutely shithouse, because I need my tribe around me. I need help. I need to ask for help, and I need to just sit and put my hand up and go, help. Yeah. And when you're struggling, especially with things like mental health, there's unfortunately this societal stigma around it. Put your hand up, ask for help. Don't think that's a weakness or something to be ashamed of. Get support, please. Don't try and do it alone and think you're tougher if you do it alone, or you're better, or you're in some way inferior if you do it alone, or any of that crap. Get support from other people who really know their stuff. Doctors, professionals, because that's I can't swear by that enough. It's being really, really stoic, and we can do it all. that works in some areas of life, but when it comes to really important things like health and mental health and those sorts of things, get a team around you and people who really, really know their shit, because you can't always do it all by yourself.
Thank you. I really, really, you don't know how much I appreciate you saying that. You know, sometimes you can tell people that you know and that you care about, you can tell them that yourselves, but when you hear it from someone who's been through everything that you've been through, it's, I said this in my book, Teddy's Revenge, that the smartest thing you can do sometimes is reach out. And I know a lot of people say you've got everything inside of you that you need, but sometimes you need to reach out so that you get those things externally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I posted something online a little while ago and I said, the strongest people I know are not the bodybuilders down at the gym with muscles for months. You know, they're the people who are, you know, kind of don't have any muscles at all, sitting on the couch at home in their pajamas, sending a text message to their therapist saying, I need help. Or to their friend going, can you please call me? I'm in a bad spot. You know, that takes strength to do something like that. So please take that first step. It might feel a bit uncomfortable or whatever, but don't ever think that toughening up and doing it alone and, you know, pushing through, or this whole women, we can do it alone. Do save that for other things, the International Women's Day or something. But when it comes to your mental health, or get support from other people.
Yeah, because it's so invisible, isn't it? You know, I saw the sunflower emblem for the invisibility of sunflowers.
Yes.
And people just don't know. Everyone is fighting some kind of battle. Everyone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and tell me, is there anything in particular that you are looking forward to? Because I love the saying, keys to happiness, someone to love, something meaningful to do, and something to look forward to. You're doing something very meaningful. What are you looking forward to?
I'm doing some work with Griffith University, Inclusive Futures at the moment, and they've got a few exciting projects, working on a few exciting projects with them, not all of which I can talk about, unfortunately. But
okay.
There's a few exciting things bubbling away in the space of inclusion and all sorts of things like that. I get excited not by the big shiny exciting things, but by the little wins that happen, things that happen along the way, because that to me just makes my heart sing, because working in the advocacy space can be really, really draining sometimes, and you don't think there's anything moving forward, and you look at the bigger picture and like, oh, the unemployment rate for people with disability is still this, and there's still no people with disability on the TV, and so, and this goes for everybody, whether you've got a disability or not. You have to learn to really celebrate the small wins and the little things, and I did this before my disability as well, but celebrate the little joys and little wins and the little things, because if you only sit there and wait for the big wins when you're, I don't know, on stage giving a TED talk, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That either never happens or only happens once every 43 years. So, you know, celebrate the little things along the way, because it makes life so much better and so much richer.
Yeah, thank you. That's two really fantastic pieces of advice. Reach out and ask for help, and then that's another great tip, which I really believe in too, is celebrate the little wins along the way, because it can get addictive then. You know, you always want to have more to celebrate, and that's a way to keep yourself positive and excited.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I really, really am so grateful to you for taking the time to have a moment with me.
Thanks, Moana. I appreciate it too.
Thank you for listening to Take a Moment with Moana Robinson. Remember to visit her website, bestyledforlife.com.au, and book a time for a further conversation.